Welcome to part 2 of Elevators of the Prairies. Below is the former Canadian Northern Railway line that went through Meeting Creek. For 87 years, from 1910 to 1997, trains rolled through this community, including passenger service. There are two wonderfully preserved grain elevators in this location, both built around 1917. The Alberta Wheat Pool and this Alberta Pacific Grain Elevator. The Meeting Creek Railway Station is also wonderfully preserved and in great condition, and is open for tours during select days of the week. The physical railway line that stretches both east and west of this location are now a thing of the past. The tracks were removed in the mid-2000s, and nature is already taking it back. Speaking with people who actually rode trains through this area, they say it was an absolutely gorgeous experience. This Alberta Wheat Pool elevator in Big Valley was built in 1960 and has been designated a historical resource by the Alberta government. In 1912, the Big Valley Railway Station was built in this area, along with a roundhouse and rail yards with stockyards and docks. This area became a very thriving community for many, many years. This line was built by the Canadian Northern Railway, but now this line is owned by the East Central Alberta Heritage Society and allows the Alberta Prairie Railway Tours to use this stretch. I have a full video of that excursion that I will put a link to above. As mentioned, communities had more than one elevator standing at each location. In Big Valley's situation, in 1974 there were 3. The rail line no longer services communities south of this location and has been completely removed. The foundation and the walls still remain to the original roundhouse in this location, and you can do a walking tour through this entire area to get more information. Back in Saskatchewan now, we are at the Landis elevator. This location is quite unique because the elevators were actually built in 1923, but the smaller elevator was converted to an annex and an addition was added to it in 1973. Now all connected together as one. Landis is located at milepost 23 on the Wainwright subdivision of CN. Fire wasn't the only reason elevators were taken down. Sometimes it was the need for space to build new, more modern elevators, and in other situations the elevators themselves were just becoming too dangerous to leave up. These icons of the prairies are becoming few and far between. This Purdue elevator, built in 1967, was a former Saskatchewan wheat pool elevator. Located on the Wilkie subdivision of CP Rail at milepost 40. These elevators in Lenny, Saskatchewan are unique as well. The smaller elevator was actually built in 1917 and was converted to an annex. The larger elevator was built in 1950. Unsure whether these two are being used anymore, as the condition seems to be that they are not. Strangely enough, the weigh scale is still operational and there is still power. Now arriving in Kinley, Saskatchewan. This elevator was built in 1968, located at milepost 222 on the Waterous CN subdivision. This elevator stands by itself, all alone south of the village of Asquith. Unfortunately, I don't have any information on the dates of these elevators, but looking at them, I would have to guess that the two smaller ones with the annex were built prior to the larger one, probably in the 1920s or earlier. The newer one, the larger elevator, probably in the 1950s or 60s. These elevators have a rather unique story behind them. They are actually not used as elevators anymore. A local rock band that lives in the area is now using this elevator and the group of elevators as a recording area, and they also do live concerts in this building. How unique is that? This group has spent countless hours restoring the interior to make it usable for that purpose. They had a lot of fun getting rid of all the dust that was inside the beams and other areas of the elevator, because every time they played, they would stir up the dust. These are also located on the CN main line at milepost 212 of the Waterous Sub. This elevator in Young, Saskatchewan is the only one left standing. At one point there were several. Located on the CN Togo subdivision at milepost 143. These three elevators, located in Canaston, Saskatchewan, are very unique. The first elevator opened in 1908 by the Canadian Consolidated Elevator Company. The second elevator opened in 1911, which was owned by Central Grain, and the third elevator was owned by State Elevator in 1912. In 1960, the Saskatchewan Wheat Pool built this elevator. This is Western Canada's first all-steel construction elevator. These 3 elevators that are remaining are all now privately owned. When the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway built through this area, trains were still being powered by steam. Canaston is one of only 5 locations that still has a water tower from the days of the steam era. This water tower was built in 1910, replacing the original one built in 1887. This elevator, located in Broderick, Saskatchewan, stands alone. The CP rail line, the Outlook sub, no longer exists in this area. This elevator is actually 2 elevators that were joined together. The original one, which is the smaller one, was built in around 1915. The larger one, with its annex, was built in the 1950s, and they were all joined together. Now we are in Conquest, Saskatchewan, where we have 2 elevators. This Canadian Pacific Railway line used to be called the Kerrobert-Rossdown Spur, and it used to connect to the Outlook sub. Now the only connection is to the Conquest subdivision. owned by Big Sky Rail. The first elevator, built in 1911 by the Saskatchewan Cooperative Elevator Company, and then acquired by the Saskatchewan Wheat Pool in 1926. Unfortunately, this elevator is scheduled for demolition within the next year. The second newer elevator was built in 1957 by the Saskatchewan Wheat Pool. And finally, in Milton, Saskatchewan, we run into an owner who is tearing an elevator down as we speak. So we got a special tour of the outside and inside using the drone, something that you would not normally get to see. This elevator was built sometime around 1910. This is a very rare opportunity to see this being done because usually elevators are just knocked over and destroyed. Some of the smoothing detail as the grain has been rubbing against this wood for decades is amazing and would make a great feature wall or other discussion piece inside a home, restaurant, or business. As you can see from this top-down view, the grain bins are not all the same height. Some are stacked on top of each other. If you look closely in the bottom right, you can see one of the cribbing beams has been worn away from decades of grain hitting it as it falls out of the chute. It is incredible to see how the wood was just literally layered in sections to build each one of these bins. I hope you enjoyed this series on the elevators, and I plan on doing more if there's enough interest in doing so.